Hi everyone, Stacy Whiter here on behalf of Campus Mortgage with some quick tips for you on how to easily determine the closing date for a TRID loan. Now, just an important reminder before we get started, this video is for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal advice or used in place of the CFPB guidelines. So now let's talk about that ever important question of when can you schedule the closing based on the TRID 3-day guidelines? Well, let's first do a quick review. When it comes to the timing of the closing disclosure, we know that it must be received by the consumer at least 3 business days prior to loan consummation. Now, when it comes to a business day for the closing disclosure, that includes all calendar days except Sundays and federal legal public holidays. Now, that's a little bit different than the loan estimate because the loan estimate does not consider Saturday as a business day, but the closing disclosure does. When it comes to the delivery method, we have 3 choices. We can either deliver it in person, through email, or through regular mail. But the important part is, when does the clock start ticking? And it starts ticking for those 3 days once you have confirmed that the borrower has physically received the closing disclosure. So next, I'm going to show you a timeline example that I think will help make it a little bit easier. So in this example, let's say that we are overnighting the closing disclosure and want to determine when is the earliest date we can schedule the closing for. So in this week, let's also assume that there are no holidays. Well, if on Wednesday we send out the closing disclosure to the customer via overnight delivery, and then on Thursday we receive proof. So we have to have some sort of proof that the borrower received and signed the closing disclosure if signing is required. That would then be considered day 1. Friday would be day 2, Saturday would be day 3, and then Sunday would not count as a closing day. So in this scenario, the earliest closing date would be the following Monday. So let's look at this same example, but say you really needed to schedule the closing date for that Friday. When will you have had to overnight the closing disclosure? Well, in that case, you would need to send it out on Monday for overnight delivery. It would need to be received, and you would have to have proof of receipt on Tuesday, which would be considered day 1. Wednesday would be considered day 2. Thursday would be considered day 3, and then in this scenario, your earliest closing date would be that Friday. Next, let's take a look at an example for sending via email. So if the lender emails the closing disclosure to the borrower on Tuesday and the borrower receives it and e-discloses or e-signs that day, that would be considered day 1. Wednesday would be day 2, Thursday would be day 3, and in this scenario, Friday would be the earliest closing date. So let's do a quick knowledge checkpoint to see if you remember. All right, so in this example, if the consumer opens the closing disclosure that they received via email on Tuesday, assuming there are no holidays, what is the earliest day of the week that they can close? All right, well, if you said Friday, you would be correct, because remember, in this example, if we email out the closing disclosure on Tuesday and that same day the borrower e-signs it and acknowledges it, then that's considered day 1. So Tuesday would be day 1, Wednesday would be day 2, Thursday would be day 3, so there's your 3 days, and then Friday would be the earliest closing date in this example. Great job. That's all for now. Thanks so much for watching. For more tips and videos, please visit campusmortgage.org and look for our weekly mortgage tips designed for all mortgage professionals, including underwriters, processors, loan officers, closers, and post-closers. Have a fantastic day, and we'll see you next time.